I think there needs to be some time to think about it and kind of figure out what we need to do from here. Because, this was a tough loss tonight. We had a good crowd. It was loud. Home primetime game, and we had plenty of opportunities to win that football game, and we didn't do it.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, there needs to be some time to think about it, guys. There needs to be some time. If only there's maybe a bye week on the horizon that the Vikings could take advantage of. Didn't they start the self-scout process a week before the bye week? So they've really had 3 weeks of self-scouting.
Just for the offense. That's the best part.
Well,
the offense, you go to your room without dinner and you watch this Klint Kubiak.
I don't know how well they self-scouted in retrospect these last few weeks. Vikings Vent Line was the biggest episode ever in the history of the show. So if you're looking for 2 hours of just straight therapy, go check that out on the Purple Daily podcast and or the Purple Daily YouTube channel. But let's bring our guy in here. He is the biggest and most passionate Vikings fan we know. He is Randy in Cottage Grove. Randy, welcome to the show. You can follow him on Twitter at RandyVikes69.
I had to do therapy. I had to do therapy once.
Yeah, well, what?
Like,
I don't know. I don't know if I even want to ask why or what the reason was.
With my former, it was part of the try to reconcile, and we couldn't make it happen.
Do you think that could work maybe for, I don't know, Cousins and Zimmer? They seem to not be seeing eye to eye.
They need to cut bait. They need to cut bait. Well, first of all, I mostly agree with a lot of the folks about what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. But I got a bone to pick with a lot of people not giving a guy his due, and that's Cooper Rush. He's a stud. He had a great ball game, and maybe you guys weren't familiar with him, but a lot of people in the mocking community really liked him coming out of Central Michigan, and just a guy who's you call him a journeyman if you want, but every now and then someone on a journey gets to cash it in, and that was special.
Randy, I got a question for you. It's Jeff here. I got a question for you. Were you by chance this morning listening to a all sports station here and a certain talk show host who might have been parroting the same lines about Cooper Rush?
No, my radio.
It sounds familiar.
FM is broken in my vehicle.
Oh, that's too bad.
But he's a pro. Is the point? When a pro beats you, you can't write it off completely. But,
okay, listen.
Having said that,
all right, I'm all for giving the guy credit. It was great seeing his emotional family in the stands, and he came up with some big throws down the stretch. But I feel like
his mom is easy on the eyes.
Well,
It wasn't
I don't know
really
if his parents are together.
I agree with Randy here. I
don't even remember, I guess.
I think that was his wife. Are we talking about his wife? His wife was looking good.
What are we doing? What's going on
Was
here?
that his wife or his mom?
Even great. Good for him.
I thought it was his wife. Was it his mom?
I think it was wife, dad, and mom.
Okay, all three of them were there?
The bottom line is that
no, you're letting the Vikings off the hook here.
Yeah, exactly right. You're trying to spin the narrative.
I'm not. It should have been a nice little moment for Cooper Kupp, and then
Rush.
Then they go ahead and take care of business, close it out, let him have his little moment, and then close it out. But Captain Checkdown, Captain Checkers, checked it right down his leg again, like he always does.
All night he check. He trapped me. Captain Checkdown. I'm going to add that to the list of nicknames here.
1 out of 1,000 for third downs. I mean, it was bad. I don't know. I coming out, running out of ways to say this same thing. Zim. I said a little while ago, your seat was steamy. You know what? Just do the thing, and I'll say what I got to say if I had the stable.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Yeah, Declan, come on.
Yeah, my bad, guys.
All right, this is Randy in Cottage Groves. What week is it? Week 8? Week 8.
Stable.
Dud Stable here. on Mackey and Judd.
This is
Go ahead.
8. This is week 8. Feels like week 1,000. Feels like week 4. No one even knows anymore. It all blurs together. It's the same script over and over again, literally on offense. And this is just it's nauseating. It's another steamer, another stinker coming out of a bye, doing it at home. The place was rocking, by the way. 2 of my friends came over after, and they were real loose. So I know that place was rocking. So no excuses this time on the fans, Zim. They're not even going to be in this stable. This is all on you. We're gonna line up a firing squad here. First duds, and then a super dud, and then a super duper dud.
Oh, whoa! I don't know if we've ever had a super duper dud from you.
Starting things off.
No.
This is a guy who might need to take a little long gander in the mirror. We're paying you a lot of scratch, and you can't find it in you to bust one, to break a big one. Dalvin Cook, what do you even do? What do you do anymore? You just kind of roam around a little bit, try to scat out to the side for 5. Don't feel free to cut one back and take it to the house. Dalvin Cook, you're a dud.
He looks cooked to me.
Here's another guy who just the definition of overhyped, and this is the guy Adam Thielen. Adam, I know you're mad that Captain Checkers is not getting into even medium deep, and he's throwing these little 3-yard just dump offs short of the sticks. Get in his face. Get in his face. Don't give your little political answer at the press, whatever they call it, gang up. Get in his face. Don't be afraid to cuss. And Adam Thielen, you need to be a leader because he's not. And get in his face, you're a dud.
Wow.
Here's another dud. This is a guy on defense who does a lot of squawking, a whole lot of squawking, and a whole lot of standing around. But when it was deep in that game, he cost us. Harrison Smith, you put a hand in a guy's face that late in a big spot. You better focus on hitting and sticking people, and not grabbing face masks. Not late in the game, and you're squawking and bitching to the refs. Harrison Smith, you're a dud.
Yeah, hard to disagree. It looked like you went for the eye poke there.
Gloves are off today with Randy.
Now we're going to look at a guy who he's lucky. He's lucky there's someone more of a dud than him, because he could have been the super duper dud. But this is Kirk Cousins. You're making a lot of money. Speaking of Delvin, those 2 guys are pulling down a whole lot of jack. And Kirk, you're making like the second most money in the whole game. We can't build a roster around your ass. Not when you're doing that. You late in that second quarter, you call a timeout, Kirk. Don't even look to the sidelines. You just be a man. Pull your jack up, make it tight, and go back to the sidelines and say, Zim, I'm a man. And I called a timeout because this is Bungus Bozo. That's the between the ears stuff. And then your arm, what is it, a noodle? Why can't you chuck it 15 yards? Why can't you chuck it 25 yards? Kirk, don't be afraid. If you can't do it, run a little reverse and let Jefferson throw it. Because at least he'll throw the rock. He'll put it on the money. Kirk Cousins, you're fat. You're circling the drain. Lucky for you, there's a bigger turd down the pipe. But Kirk, you're a dud. You're a super dud.
You like that? Super dud.
Super dud. And now here's the big dud, the big stinker, the one clogging up the whole pipe with his philosophy. Thinks he can just come in and win games 23 to 17 or 17 to 13, like it's 1993. Like you're coaching in the AFC, something, 93. Mike Zimmer, you came here with a lot of hype. You came here to fix a team that forgot how to play defense. Well, a lot of years later, looks like they can't do much of that either. Although they did go up against an underrated guy who I liked coming out of college yesterday. But the reality is you can't win these games like this. It's not the way the NFL goes. You're paying a lot of money to a quarterback. You may not like that. but that's the choice they made. So you got to take his leash off, get the choke chain off him, or take a hike. Go back to your ranch, shoot some stuff, make love, have a cocktail, whatever you do when you're as old as you are.
Where did that come from?
You got to go deep. You got to take some chances, and you got to let Kirk cook. And they're not doing it. And Zim, you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose it today. You might lose it tomorrow. You might lose it after the season. But the reason why is you're a super duper dud.
Randy,
we lost him.
He's gone.
He bailed.
Okay.
Yeah,
He always does. He just pees. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to recap the stable. He just wants
Goes to mic
out.
drop.
I kind of agree. I think just go back, make some love on that Kentucky ranch.
Where did that one
I think it'll loosen a guy
emanate
up.
from?
Loosen a guy up.
I mean, okay.
Well,
I felt like Randy, so I felt like the outrage was almost sufficient, but the attempt to tell us that he liked Cooper Rush coming out of college was a definite cover.
That felt like a pat on the back there, right? Like
Yeah.
he had Cooper Rush graded as a fourth round guy or something.
Yeah.
Well, that was the Week 8 dud stable, the Super Dud stable, and the Super Duper Dud stable.
Never had one of those
our guy,
before.
Randy Vikes 69
Nice.
out there in Cottage Grove. Well, boys, I think it's time for some bonus statements here. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't get all of the things off my chest that I wanted to, so let's fall back in line here. Declan, I believe you're next with bonus statements here.
All right, I'll go with the Kirk Cousins statement, and my statement is very simple. Kirk, you are allowed to stretch the field. That is my opening statement here from Kirk Cousins. I want to pull up this graphic, too, from NFL Next Gen Statistics for our visual audience. These nice charts that NFL Next Gen comes up with puts all the throws into context of completion, incompletion, from the line of scrimmage, how far you went down the field, etc.
Dude, this is embarrassing.
And Kirk Cousins threw the ball 35 times last night and had just 3 passes. 3 that traveled 15-plus yards in the air.
Only 5 that went more than 10 yards, it looks like.
Yeah. So only 3 over 15.
What?
5
6.
over 10. And the check down Charlie Kirk Cousins, for whatever reason, just did not want to stretch the field. And you have Justin Jefferson. There are so many guys that he was targeting last night that it was blowing my mind. Justin Jefferson winds up with 4 targets, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Kirk Cousins is out here targeting random guys like C.J. Ham. C.J. Ham ends up with 3 targets. Justin Jefferson is up with 4. How is that possible? Kirk, you are allowed to stretch the field. It's Thielen. It's Jefferson. Even Tyler Gronklin has a nice catch down the sideline. That's one of them. That's one of the 3 that's on here.
That's right there. I can see it.
You're allowed to do that. Instead of you're going back to your cutoff crust with C.J. Ham. You're your little nice sandwich there. I don't understand it, dude. Stretch the field.
Okay, so what do you guys have to say? Because there's the offensive line was bad last night, and a lot of people are going to say, well, what do you want him to do? By the way, the offensive line, I believe, allowed pressures on 39% of dropbacks, which is the most they have. Okay, but there's also 60 dropbacks that didn't have pressure, but some of those are because they had short passes and screens. I guess my point is, when people say, well, what do you want them to do, the offensive line? What's your response to that?
My response?
It's a valid point, but at the same time, like there are opportunities out there.
Absolutely, and it's a team game, so you have to know what the Cowboys are going to do going into that game. You had an entire bye week to prepare for this game. It's a big game. You had an entire off week to prepare. So my response is very simple too. If nothing else, make adjustments, keep some protection in to take some shots. If he had taken a bunch of shots and missed, I'd be more comfortable than the fact that, and this is the Kirk thing, once he starts to see guys, once he starts to get off his mark, once he starts to feel pressure, Kirk Cousins sees ghosts. And so if you watch the game last night, you can see a guy who, pressure or not, was afraid. And that's the problem. This goes back to what we've talked about basically from day one with Kirk, and it's true. When circumstances around him are in pretty good shape, he is fine. But when it breaks down and you're in a fire drill, basically, he is a mess. And so my response, though, to everyone, not just Kirk, it's the coaching staff too, make the necessary adjustments to adapt. When's the last time that you've seen this team offensively make the adjustments and come out
No,
and you're
they-
like, okay, that makes sense.
Never. Like, they never. Very rarely does the Vikings offense come out, especially against a really good team, and just go toe to toe. Like maybe that Rams game on the road on a Thursday or whatever it was, like 4 years ago. You know, you can basically count on one hand. And I think I saw the nugget last night. It's been 1,500 days since the Vikings have beat a winning team in primetime. I don't think that counts playoffs because they did beat the Saints twice in playoff games.
Sure.
But
I get you.
But regular season, because they play like 4 or 5 primetime games a year, and you know half of them are against winning teams, and they don't win those games. It's been, do the math, like 5 years since they've won a game against a winning team. So, all right, Judd, go ahead. Statements.
When Adam Thielen clearly gives his agent the opportunity to take off the gloves, you're all in big trouble. This guy is as he's a local. You might have heard he's from Mankato.
No way.
Yeah, not kidding you. It's unbelievable.
Where'd he get
In
drafted
fact, you know
again?
what? I'll tell you. The story is so great and long. I'll tell you off mic. But anyway, when Blake Barrett's, who is Thielen's agent, clearly has the go-ahead to publicly basically say, I can't keep quiet. This is ridiculous. And it's the coaching. You've got problems that can't be fixed. That's my statement. The
And
problems
Blake-
can't be fixed.
And Blake, he's an opinionated guy for sure, and like he, you know, I would say he's been one of the more vocal agents in the NFL on Twitter. Like if he's got takes on the league and ownership and stuff, so
Sure.
like he's, you know, he does have takes on things, but I feel like he's always drawn a line.
Yes.
He'll go after the league or officials or
He's
like
diplomatic
broad
when it-
topics.
He's diplomatic on the teams which his players play for, despite the fact that there are lots of times he probably has thoughts on how those players are being used. No
Yes,
question about it.
This is the
You're
furthest
correct.
he's gone
Right.
on that front. And I don't think he's going to go further today. My guess is he was probably just caught up in the heat of the moment. But my God, please, if you've got
But-
something to say, please tweet it
Well-
today, Blake.
And if he's got something to say, there's no question that his client has said it to him.
Oh, my God. Yes.
And
This
he
is-
should.
They're
And I'm
texting
not
each other. Yeah.
And just to be clear here, I am not dumping on Thielen or Jefferson or the receivers at all here. This is on play calling. When you look at the chart that Declan showed us, and when you understand who the receivers on this team are, it becomes more egregious.
Yeah.
And I would just say this: find a way to get them the football. They're playmakers. Find a way, but you
All right.
can't. You don't.
I got one here off that. All right, here's my next statement. And we this was a first guess. All right, I'm wrong on a lot of things. I was wrong on Cooper Rush. I was wrong on Cooper Rush.
Cooper Cup.
I'm
Poor
sure
Cooper
that-
Cup's like,
He's
quit,
the best receiver in the NFL.
quit confusing me with that half-ass quarterback in Dallas.
Can't imagine that clip of me chastising you guys is going to wind up on Old Tweets Exposed this week. But the Vikings made a mistake. Mike Zimmer made a mistake putting a rookie offensive coordinator into that position in a must-win season. And you're seeing it right now.
Yep.
You know, and some of it's Mike Zimmer with his thumb on things. You know, I think Mike Zimmer is definitely the one in charge of the culture and the one in charge of the greater strategy and the hiring. And so, like, everything goes back to Zimmer, to Spielman, to the ownership group. But, you know, Klint Kubiak has been pretty awful. Outside of a few spurts here and there, maybe at Arizona for 5 minutes and, you know, the end of the game against Carolina where they had a spurt in the second half against Carolina where they scored a couple touchdowns or whatever. But, like, largely this has been a conservative dink and dunk training wheels offense. It feels so much less than what it could be with these weapons. And the Vikings made their bet. Like, they went into a season in which jobs were on the line all throughout the organization. It's a win now roster. They loaded up, quote unquote, on defense in free agency. And here sits a 34-year-old dude, handed the keys to an offense for the first time in his career, calling plays for the first time in his career. He was the wide receivers coach at Kansas University 5 years before this. And it was always like, we brought it up a few times in the offseason. I don't know about this. This feels like a stretch. I don't know, Jim.
We did say that, though.
And he's very,
You're right.
very obviously in over his head or unable. If he's got thoughts and ideas for how to make this thing better and they're being squashed, then he's incapable of managing up to his boss, Mike Zimmer. And it's a problem. In fact, how about this? The Vikings, in terms of how productive are they throughout the game offensively, the scripted drives, eye test tells you they're really good, and the stats tell you they're really good. So the Vikings by quarter, here's where they rank points per quarter among the other 31 NFL teams. First quarter points, 7th. Second quarter points, 14th. And then 12th in the third quarter, and 30th in the fourth quarter. And, some people are going to say, well, I mean, fourth quarter, isn't that where garbage time teams score points? Well, the Bills are top 5. The Cowboys are top 5. And the Vikings aren't exactly like protecting 20-point leads in the fourth quarter, all right? Mm-hmm. So when you script the plays, the offense is great. Once you get away from that and it becomes more about the flow and reading what the other team is doing, and it's more improvisational, Klint Kubiak struggles, Mike Zimmer struggles, Kirk Cousins struggles, and it falls off. So
You're exactly right. This was the year that you had to bring in a veteran coordinator who not only could call plays but could go to Mike and say, Mike, no. That's a bad idea. You're a defensive guy, Mike. And yeah, Klint doesn't have it. He doesn't. And why they did this, I get that they were trying to keep things as simple as possible for Kirk. But again, that's such a bad excuse. Like, this is the National Bleeping Football League, and we're like,
he's had
Peyton
too many in his prime.
He's had too many coordinators. It's not fair to Kirk. We've got to keep it simple. Yeah, there have been, I think, the last 2 years, 3 or 4 like big time first guesses about this team and moves that they have made or failed to make, and this was 1,000% one.
Yeah. Judd,
I'm going to go to the...
No, Dex.
It's me.
Oh, I thought we went Dex and then me.
We went Phil. No, it was Dex, me, you. It's confusing.
This is great.
Yep, go
I have
on.
a hockey.
What was
I have a
Judd's
hockey
statement?
statement.
I'm blacked out already.
Yeah, I have a hockey statement. If the court will oblige.
Yeah, I got some non-Vikings too.
All right, I have a Minnesota Wild statement. I'm going to speak this into existence. Okay. Kirill Kaprizov is going to be a man possessed going forward. I'm going to speak this into existence because he still doesn't have his goal, okay? Now, Kirill, analytically, is phenomenal. He's shooting the puck a ton, averaging 3.25 shots per game. That's even higher than last season. His Corsi 4 percentage is at 60% right now, which is absurdly good, meaning when he is on the ice, he is generating more shots attempts than he is allowing when on the ice. He is starting in the offensive zone 71% of the time. You can't be putting up these numbers without eventually getting rewarded in bunches. So this Kaprizov drought, which we've been talking about and is worth discussing, by the way. I'm not trying to say him not cashing in these opportunities is not worth discussing, or criticism too, because that is a valid conversation. But when you're putting up these kind of numbers, eventually the tide is going to switch and the goals are going to come in bunches for him. So Kirill Kaprizov is going to be a man possessed going forward. I'm speaking it into existence. This funk will snap, and I believe it'll happen this week, starting tomorrow night against the Ottawa Senators at home.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get it. Let's score some goals here.
If he starts to go to the goal
Kirill?
more, it's going to help. I don't like where he is a lot of times. A lot of periphery play.
Yeah,
his high
danger chances are down from last year. He's not putting himself in the same high danger situations that he was last season.
What made him so good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but yeah, I hope you're right.
Danger.
All right. Okay, I'm going to issue a challenge to a team, but it's off of a positive. So in a day full of Vikings angst and Kirill, it'd be nice for him to score. Here's my challenge. It's very, very simple, and Phil will like this. Beat Iowa and beat Wisconsin. It's time. The Gophers, after the win against Northwestern on Saturday, sit in sole possession of first place in the Big Ten West, by the way, and this is not not a bad thing.
I never gave up on this
The
team.
Big Ten West is just bad, okay? But the Gophers are atop it, and there's nobody can take that away from them except themselves. 4 games left. Illinois at home on Saturday. November 13th at Iowa. at Indiana, and then, just like in 2019, it plays out the exact same with the Hawkeyes on the road, Wisconsin regular season finale at Huntington Bank Stadium. All right? Beat the Hawkeyes, beat the Badgers, and go win the Big Ten West. Erase the Bowling Green loss. I mean, it's hard to erase it, but if you make the Big Ten championship game, I think we'll probably forgive this team. Erase the memory of the loss when College Game Day was here for the Badgers game in 2019. That could all be erased. You control your fate. Take control of that fate. Do what needs to be done and make it to at least the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah. Listen, I
Got a
mean,
chance.
this is it's hilarious. Like the AP pollsters are such idiots. Like they had Iowa as the number 2 team in the country at one point.
Don't even.
They've got Cincinnati as the number 2 team in the country
what
ahead
the
of
hell?
Alabama right now.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't
You
even
think
care.
if Cincinnati
It means
plays
nothing
Alabama, what happens?
Thank God it means nothing.
Yeah, because there's
Like, it
I
used to
think
mean
tomorrow
something.
Tomorrow night the real poll comes out.
But it used to mean like, oh my God, who's going to win the AP and UPI national championships? Think about that. We used to have to rely on this garbage.
Dude, that Iowa Gophers game is going to be like first team to 12 points.
Ugh.
First team to kick their 4th field goal just wins the game on the spot.
Unless the quarterback can throw the football.
How do you feel about actually, no, I'm going to piggyback off Judd here. Just my final statement, say that stop trying to sharpen the pencil of like Gopher, Wisconsin, Iowa scenarios here. And by that I mean when Wisconsin beat Iowa, a lot of fans I saw just on social media saying, well, even though this puts the Gophers in first place, it's actually a bad thing because if Iowa would have beat Wisconsin, it would have knocked Wisconsin down. Just stick with me.
No, I'm laughing.
If Iowa
Yes.
beats Wisconsin, Wisconsin would have been 2 games behind the Gophers and out of it. And then the Gophers just have to beat Iowa. Now the Gophers have to beat Iowa
Right.
and Wisconsin unless Wisconsin loses another game in there somewhere.
What are we?
Good. That's how I want it.
Which
Go
makes
win
sense. Like
those games.
you'd rather just have to beat Iowa and not have to worry about Wisconsin. But it's just beat both. Just go.
Right.
Like they're both very beatable teams. Iowa doesn't have any offense. You know, Iowa got smoked by Purdue, and you smoked Purdue. So go get
Yes.
it. Go get
Exactly.
the axe. Go get Floyd.
Row
When's the
that
last time
boat,
they
baby.
had Floyd and the axe all in one year? 03? Did they beat them both?
1876, I think.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Before we were in the union.
That's right. The Minnesota Golden Gophers have captured the axe. And Floyd of Rosedale in Iowa City. Here are the happy Gophers returning home.
When Floyd was still just the actual live pig is
Floyd was
the
skinny.
last time it happened. Yeah.
He got on and died. He was real skinny.
All right. I feel like there's probably a million other things we could get to, but we still got who gets it to it, who doesn't
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I got a page full of notes still for tomorrow. Now, some
let's park it.
Timberwolves.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That was
Oh,
a tough
the-
weekend.
the
that was a
new-
really
it was a
bad
rough
weekend. That
weekend
was a
for
bad.
Minnesota sports,
the
dude.
Wild on Saturday,
Oh, it was bad.
despite what Bally Sports North tried to tell you, they were not good. They were like, they're on a long trip. This is so different. Coming up next.
I had Root Sports. It was great. Root Sports was great. Colorado Avalanche broadcast did a great job. Great job.
You know, not once have you said, Judd, I really wish I could watch the home team broadcast.
Oh, I had the option to watch the home team.
No, but I mean, you've never come back and said, I switched to it.
Oh, yeah. No. Weird. I don't do that. No.
It's fun to experiment with the rest of the broadcast.
Coming up next. The fourth line back checked really well in the
Jonas
night's
Brodin
5-1
has
loss.
4 shots
Yeah.
on goal, and the Wild lost. to the
Coming up
Avalanche.
next, the Wild did some community service before embarking on this road trip, and that's all we got to show you.
You know, okay, I do have a question in place of a statement for the Timberwolves. Can we get Karl Anthony Towns more than like 4 shots in a game?
That's in my notes.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
how about 15 shots?
Well,
you know?
when Ant said we need to share the ball, he didn't mean it to the detriment of now Cat's got like 2 shots.
Yeah, we don't. I'm sorry. All due respect to like Torian Prince, like, all right, Cat.
Yes.
Let's start with Cat getting 20 shots, okay, and then we can divvy them up from that point. D'Lo probably doesn't need 15 shots when he can't make one. But anyways,
Coming up next on Valley Sports North, the Wolves bench does their job, even though the Wolves lost a heartbreaker.
Mackie and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.